All right, welcome back. Few updates to share. First one on the chess side is just upgraded my account to Diamond membership. That kind of allows me to do a bit more with unlimited puzzles and reviews and lessons. Just gives the channel a little bit more capabilities where I'm not restricted to only a couple of things per day. We'll see how I leverage that over the next couple of episodes. Unfortunate news, my oldest dog, Happy, who you see here in the bottom of the screen, dislocated her hip Friday morning, gone through a lot of pain, had a procedure done to get the femur back in her hip, but just hate to see her in severe pain. Highly medicated. I'm having to like support her hind legs. She's not able to place any weight on them, obviously. Taking her out's been a big challenge, and she's essentially crate bound for the next 4 to 6 weeks. So that'll be quite difficult for everyone involved, especially Happy. Hazy, our younger puppy, has taken to it pretty difficult too. It's difficult for her to not understand I can't play with this thing. But yeah, feel free to keep Happy in your thoughts and hope that her recovery is as smooth as possible. I think for this episode, I just want to do some casual puzzling. I think I might edit this one down just to kind of show the highlights. Don't want this to run too long. But yeah, I want to incorporate some puzzles into my journey. And again, this channel is not my typical one, so I think the puzzles for the next couple of episodes might be pretty remedial. So maybe I'll talk through. I don't know exactly who the dozens of you that are watching each episode what your chess rating is. Feel free to drop that in the comments of what your chess rating is if you have one. And that way I'll know, like, do I need to skip over the checkmates in one or kind of fly right through them? All right. Without further delay, let's do a couple bit of puzzles. I've done only 12, so my rating's only 570. Hopefully I don't have any issue understanding what the mates are. And so here you can see I've got this bishop that's supporting the queen, so I can easily put in for a check there. And this h8 square, if I put in check, king has no other moves, so that's simply a checkmate. And I am being timed here, so I don't want to wait too long, otherwise I kind of miss the time bonus. For those that are not on chess.com, the faster you solve some of these puzzles, the more points you are rewarded. So if instead of 21 seconds this took me 3 minutes, I would have only gotten a handful of points. And so this is a pretty common one. I'm looking for a mate in one here. You can see these 3 pawns right in front of the king, oftentimes leading to what's called a back rank checkmate. However, if I move here in this e1 square, the knight covers, but if I move here, I've got an easy checkmate in 2. So now we've reached the 600 rating for puzzles. So for this one, first thing I'm looking for is there a check? The first thing I'm noticing is there is a check on this square. That leaves the king only a couple of moves, but in any event, whether it's moving to h1 or g1, the next move is going to result in a checkmate. Easy one there. This is a very common puzzle. Looks at first glance that I can take the rook, but this rook on b7 covers the square, but instead I do want to offer this check. You ask, where is the mate? This is a very common puzzle where you sacrifice the queen and force a checkmate. The rook has no other option other than to capture, and I can recapture as a result, and there's no place for the king to hide. Okay, so for this one, this is going to be a sacrifice. You can see that this bishop sees the queen, but this knight is in the way, but if I sacrifice this knight by moving it into check, I have a free capture of this queen. All right, and then for the next one, there's no queens on the board, so it's going to be a little bit more complicated perhaps. Am I going for promotion of the pawn here? One thing I have to watch is a checkmate threat because I am limited on the number of squares that I can go. The first thing I'm noticing is the ability to push this pawn. I'm looking for a mating opportunity, but I don't see any mates that I can yield with this knight. I'm going to go ahead and push this pawn. It does appear to be the right sequence of moves. I only have a couple of squares. I think it might be this one to attack the knight. I have to be very careful to... Oh, I think I see what's going on. I want to take here, and then I want to fork. Do I want to... Wait, there is no fork. Oh, you know what it is? It is promoting with check is the move. Surprised I got that as a 657. It's a multi-step puzzle that doesn't quite lead to an immediate mate. All right, so the first thing I'm looking at here is, do I have a check? And I sure do. And in fact, forks both the king and the queen. And it also produces a checkmate because the king has no moves after this check. There's no way for the king to escape that being in the corner. All right, first thing I'm looking for is a check. I've got one here with the pawn, at which point there's only one legal move leading toward that, and then that forces... Now there's a couple legal moves, so you could move here. That does seem like the most forcing move because the knight is not able to check, so I am going to go here, and that isn't quite checkmate, but I'm sure it's going to deliver some sort of forced opportunity. I'm going to open up the analysis tool. So if I go here, king has two legal moves. Evidently this b3 move is the best, in which case I would push this pawn, which is supported by this rook. Then it has to go back down to this c4 square, at which point I've got this, and then there's only blocking with the queen. That leads to a checkmate. Okay. Do a few more of these. Okay, so do I have a check in the situation? Not from this bishop because they're on opposite color squares. Oh, I missed kind of the obvious one. So the queen sees this rook, which also delivers check, and then there are no legal moves for that king, so it's just mate in one. Some of these I'm overlooking the obvious. I'm used to the checkmates in 3s and 4s in some cases, and the discrepancy between the previous puzzle and this one being a mate in 5 versus mate in 1. Sometimes you do have to look for the obvious. This is another very obvious one, very common chess puzzle. We already saw one today. You push the king away by putting him in check. You sacrifice that queen and deliver mate with the rook. Let's see if we can get up to 800 in this video. I've got the white pieces. Where are my checks? In this case, I can put the king in check with this a1 square, at which point this square is already defended. There's really no room for this king to escape. So I'm going to put it in checkmate in this corner. Where are the checks? Or is there a check? First square that comes to mind is with this rook, and if I go here, the king could try to escape here, but I've got the queen covering. So if we go to analysis here, let's say that the king tries to run away, that's just checkmate in 2. I think I just X'd out of my keep the puzzles coming. Let's see if we can get up to 800 here. 20 points away. No, 60 points away. This is just a checkmate in 1. Okay. Are there any checks? This is a check, which forces the king to one of 2 squares, but then... Oh, no, those squares are not available because this light square bishop does cover. Again, we're in check here. I've got 3 squares where I can go. Which one is going to be the best? If I come here... Initially, I like the look of e5 because it does cover this e4 square. It also prevents any rook activity that checks me here. I'm going to go for this. It's not right. Let me see if I can retry that. So it was the one I was least expecting is this square here, in which case I would be able to run the king away. I'm usually reluctant to push the king into the other king because it does limit your squares, but in this case the king can run away. This one's just a checkmate in 1. This pawn is securing this g2 square. That is simply mate. Where are the checks? This is a check here, in which case I can follow up with another check and then checkmate on the next turn. This is simple back rank mate. And we're 1 away from that 800, in which we'll call it a day. This bishop sees this square here, delivering a simple mate. So there we are. Did miss one. Missed my very first puzzle on this account. It's okay. There'll be many more of those. But we got up to 811 after 31 attempts. And we'll call it a day there. Hope everyone has a good one.